Well, hi everyone. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what we're doing here, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. I'm joined right now by Frithjof Speetjens. I'm sorry, sir, did I get your name right?
Quite right.
Okay.
It's okay for me.
Okay, thank you. So he agreed to help me out with my channel by doing a video with me to talk about a European perspective, a European viewpoint on the Ukraine war and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So Frithjof, you are a family man and a professional. Is there anything else you'd like to say about yourself?
Well, yeah, okay. As you say, I'm a family man, and I'm married with a wife, 3 children, and I'm working for the Ministry of Internal Affairs in the Netherlands. That's in short my story.
Okay, very good. So I wanted to ask you some questions, and we're going to do this kind of like a question and answer. My first question is, what was it like back in February? You're there in Netherlands, in Western Europe, and Russia invades Ukraine. What did it feel like when that happened?
Interesting question. It was for me, and I think for all Netherlands, Europe, and also America, quite surprising and also quite unrealistic that Putin did a full-scale invasion in Ukraine. Everybody expected that Russia will invade in Ukraine, but only at a limited scale and not at a full scale. So that was very surprising. Certainly in the first few days and weeks. Certainly, yeah.
Was it frightening? Did you feel scared?
Not particularly, because in the end, Europe is quite well defended by the United States of America in the NATO. So in the end, I could not believe that if Putin wins in Ukraine, that he would continue in attacking any NATO country. I just could not believe that, and I still don't believe it.
You still don't believe that, right?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Okay. So why do you think there's so many stories in the media about how Russia will invade Romania, will invade Poland, will invade the Baltic states? Why is that? Why are there so many stories talking about that? Is that just to make news?
I don't think so. In the end, many people, historians, or people who study history, they're saying that Putin is a guy who wants to restore the great Russian Empire that it was before World War II, and also after World War II, and that was including a lot of countries in Europe that was under the influence of Russia, including Poland, Romania, Czechia, Slovakia, all those Eastern Europe countries. So there were a lot of people that were afraid that Putin want to restore this situation just after World War II. That a lot of countries were in his influence. So and I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people, certainly the countries in Eastern Europe, who lived for decades under the Russian influence. I think those countries were certainly afraid that Putin would not stop at Ukraine, but if he had an easy win, that it would very well be possible that he would continue in getting those countries into his influence.
So good point there. If he had an easy win, then who knows what happens next? But it seems that has not happened, right?
I don't think that he will win, but that's what I think. Yeah, but of course we cannot look into the future, Peter.
Yeah. So when we were talking back and forth before, we were messaging. You've told me that you follow these events a lot. You follow the pro-Russian and the pro-Ukrainian kind of Western side of the media. In your opinion, who is doing a better job at putting out their side of the story? Who is having, well, because I think everyone's trying to show the world their point of view. who is doing a better job?
First of all, I'm thinking that I'm one of the very few people following the war at both sides. That's because my wife is a journalist and she learned me never ever get your information from one source. Always look to both sides. So she learned me that. So that's the reason why I'm following as well as the pro-Ukrainian sides as the pro-Russian ones, to get a fair view about what's happening over there. And in the end, Ukraine is doing far better on social media than Russia is, at least as far as I can see. You have some pro-Russian channels, but those are by far smaller, certainly in Europe, than the pro-Russian ones.
And do you think that, for example, people in India, in China, in Latin America, in Africa, are they getting more of a pro-Ukraine story or a pro-Russian story?
Oh, Peter, that's a difficult one to answer because I do not live in those countries. I know China is more on the pro-Russian side. I know that certainly in the media. And in the end, I think for most countries, they're quite neutral and they do not want to take any side. In the end, for somebody in South America, it's somewhere far away, somewhere in Europe. So I think they watch it from distance. I also think that Ukrainians are very creative in making videos. For example, they have a very small commercial drones. They attach a grenade on the drone. They flew above a tank. They dropped the grenade, it's falling exactly in the tank opening, and you see a blow. And it's of course it's not funny for the people in a tank, but somehow it's creative, and it's when you watch such things only from the Ukrainian side, you think, oh well, those are creative. Those people they know what they're doing on social media, because those kinds of movies are shared a lot. So that somehow people like to watch it or want to share that.
Yeah. Lots is happening in these past few days. Of course, this has made big international news. The Ukrainian counteroffensives, especially the one in Kharkiv, where they reclaimed a lot of territory. In your opinion, following the sources that you follow, who is responsible for this? How did this happen?
That's also a very hard one to answer me, Peter. I'm very surprised that it was possible for Ukraine to build up an army of more than 20,000 men, and Russia just did not see it or didn't react to it. And the big question is, what is the reason that Russia missed this kind of crucial information? A few weeks before, they put away exactly that area, 10 to 15,000 men going completely to the south to defend the south, and missing those soldiers in that area makes it for Ukraine much easier to conquer it. So somehow they managed to let Russia believe that there was a great offensive completely in the south, while the real offensive was around the Kharkiv region. And it's very surprising for me that Russia did not see it. And also for a lot of military analysts, they also are surprised that this was possible. But certainly in this information technology world we're living in, 20,000 Ukrainian soldiers, they have cell phones. So you, as Russia, you can track those cell phones. Why did that not happen? And you got drones. Why didn't the drone see a huge amount of people, soldiers, grouping around the area? It's really surprising for me.
So is there anything to, now the Russian excuse they're giving is that they saw this coming and they decided not to fight for Kharkiv. They decided that they couldn't win, and so they pulled back. Is there any truth to that, do you think?
Yeah, that's the one of the good things watching as well as the pro-Russian side as well as the pro-Ukrainian ones. The Ukrainian side is saying, well, we have a big victory, and the Russians say, ah, well, we were doing nothing with our people. It was just some ground we could miss, and we had to regroup some soldiers and our army to get a new attack somewhere in another area. And looking to those both statements, and I think, okay, it could be possible that Russia is only regrouping. It could be possible, but if that's the case, why did they leave an enormous amount of tanks and armored vehicles and very expensive radar systems in that area? Huge, vast amounts of ammunition just leave there. To my opinion, if it is a normal regrouping, I would expect as an army, you take those tanks, armored vehicles and ammunition, you would take it with you, but they leave it. So that's the reason why I think that in the end, it is a great victory for Ukraine, because it seems to me that the Russians just run away and leaving all the stuff behind.
What do you think about the morale victory, the morale benefit that Ukraine gained from it? How important is that?
I think a few things. One, yes, it is of course a huge morale boost for the Ukrainian army. But before that, the morale of the Ukrainians was already far higher than from the Russian soldiers, because they're fighting for the country, and the soldiers of the Russian army are thinking, what are we doing here? They're told to fight, but not why they should fight. There's no reason for them to be there. And secondly, I think it shows Zelensky and the Ukraine army shows to the Western world, look, if we got the weapons, if we receive them, we could push the Russian army back. It's possible for us. So please continue those deliveries, and we will win ultimately. So I think it is, yes, certainly an enormous morale boost for the Ukrainian army, but also a morale boost for Western countries to continue the delivering of weapons so that Ukraine can continue their offensive.
Yeah, so probably a big success in that area, no? Because now the Ukraine's Western partners can see if we send weapons, there will be a benefit for that, right?
Yep, certainly. Yep.
And in your country, in Netherlands, what is the attitude towards this? Do the general public want to support the war effort? What is the feeling on that?
At this moment, certainly. We must see what will happen during the autumn and the winter. In Europe, we have extremely high gas prices. And in Europe, a lot of countries are very afraid that if it will be a cold winter, that there will just not be gas enough to warm all houses and all people, and that big industries must be closed. And at that point, we have to see if the public opinion is then still towards Ukraine, or the people say from, well, no matter what, but I want a warm house, so do something.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you that, yeah, how do you feel coming up to winter? We're in the middle of September right now.
Yep.
And what's going to happen? What do you think? Where is this going? Will Russia try to weaponize energy?
Oh, they do, certainly. They do. There's a huge pipeline going from Russia into Germany, providing all the gas of Europe. This pipeline is completely closed, and the gas reserves in Europe are not very high. So, if it will be a very mild winter, I think we'll manage. But I really wonder what will happen if it will be a very cold winter. That's a very difficult one to answer, and it's also very difficult to predict what the public opinion will say at that point.
In your house, do you have a wood stove?
No.
Okay. I've heard that in places of Europe now, people are preparing firewood trying to get ready?
Yeah, a lot of the older houses in the Netherlands, they have certainly wood stoves, but in a new ones not. So that's an issue, and a lot of them are heated by gas. So if the gas prices are sky rocketing, I think also a lot of people will run out of money because they just cannot pay the gas anymore to warm the houses. So at that point, I think the government must do something to compensate that, or find a solution for that.
Yeah,
That's well, it's at this point hard to say, because it's who can predict if it will be a hard winter or mild winter. We have to wait for that, I think.
I was just thinking about this yesterday, and if Europe can make it through the winter and show that they're okay, then I think Russia loses one of their most important strategic weapons. You know, if Russia tries to hurt Europe, but Europe is able to overcome that challenge, then that is one of Russia's biggest strategic advantages gone. No?
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I think it will go further than that, because at this moment Europe is very, very busy in finding alternatives for the Russian gas, and once we find it, we don't need the gas anymore. So the enormous income of Russia selling the gas to Europe will fall away. So that would actually mean the end of the Russian ruble, the Russian local currency, and the Russian economy, I think. Wow. Because it's very hard to they have also a pipeline going to China, but that's a small one, and the real big gas sales of Russia are in Europe, and so you're absolutely right. If you can come through this winter, we will find alternatives for our gas deliveries, and we don't need Russia anymore for our gas.
Moving back to Ukraine, now a lot of people in Ukraine, you know, in some of these regions of Ukraine, you know, were very supportive of Russia. How do they feel now? How does this affect Russia's Ukrainian allies, seeing Russia lose a battle and have to evacuate from Kharkiv? What does that do to the people in Donetsk, Luhansk, Crimea, who are depending on Russia's presence?
There are historically very close connections, also family connections between Russia and Ukraine. And I think a lot of people who are living in Ukraine have family in Russia, and a lot of people in Russia have families in Ukraine. So they actually, the countries are quite connected. But this will definitely divide those two countries, and certainly for some minorities in the Donbass and in Crimea. I think a lot of people over there that are at this moment supporting Russia will leave Ukraine once Russia is lost their territory over there. So I will think a lot of people will flee to Russia.
Yeah. I think so far already, like between 1 and 2 million people have fled to Russia. No, that's what I've read.
I'm not sure about that, but for the war, yes, there are millions and millions of people fleeing to several parts outside Ukraine.
Mostly Poland, I think, right?
Yeah, most of Poland. There are around 8 million people fleeing to Western Europe. And I'm not sure about the amount of people fleeing to Russia, but it's a small minority. It's I think 1 million or something, 500,000, 1 million.
And in Netherlands, do you have a refugee population there?
Yeah.
And what is the attitude towards those people?
Well, it's surprises now. Well, perhaps surprised me that we welcome those refugees quite with open arms, because we know the vast majority are just women with children leaving Ukraine, and we understand that in a war we have to take care of people who really need it, because Russia invaded the country, and they just have to leave their homes and everything they had, and they just leave the country because another country invade them, and their husbands are fighting in the Ukrainian army to defend the country. So I think at this moment, not only the Netherlands, but actually whole Europe is opening the borders to welcome those refugees and help them. Yep.
And how do you feel about the future of the European Union? Is there a place for Ukraine in the European Union when this is over?
Yeah, I think so, but it will take it will take a long time, and I think Europe will certainly help Ukraine with building up the country again after the war, and they will build all countries will help Ukraine with that. And on the long term, I think Ukraine will perhaps also join the Eurozone, perhaps on the long term. But there are some other countries also waiting to join the Eurozone. Let's say, for example, Turkey, and they're waiting a long years, 50 years for it. So that it can take a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so that was a lot of my questions about Ukraine. Do you have anything you'd like to add? Anything that you feel is important that I missed here?
Well, in the end, I am looking at this moment to the war. I think that Ukraine is slowly winning the war, but they definitely won a battle in the region of Kharkiv, but they certainly did not win the war yet, and it can take longer than we think at this moment.
Oh, so I have a question for you. What would a victory look like? Is Russia going to have a change of their political leadership? How could this end in a victory?
That's also a difficult one, Peter.
A victory, you have to make Russia give up. How can that happen?
It depends on your definition. When you call it a victory, is the victory when Ukraine is getting all their territory back before the 24th of February? Is the victory when they also get Crimea back? Is the victory when they say, oh well, okay, we got everything but Crimea? So is the victory for Russia if they say, oh well, we only have the Donbass? I don't know. It's hard to. For me, there is no definition at this point for a victory.
Yeah.
In the end, it is of course victory when Ukraine win all their territory, including Crimea. That's victory. But I think I wonder if that will happen.
Right. Okay. Well, that's kind of answers my questions about the Ukraine war. Do you have a few minutes just to ask you a couple other questions?
Oh, sure, of course.
Okay, so you told me that you are a believer in science. I was wondering your opinion. What is something in science going on that makes you optimistic, that gives you some hope for the future?
Oh, I think a lot of issues we're facing at this moment can be solved by science. And for example, it's a very simple example. Our world population is growing very fast. So if we had the same agriculture standards as we had 100 years ago, we would not be able to produce enough foods for our complete population. Because of science, we can produce much more food on the square feet. So that's those examples. I think a lot of issues we have can be solved by science.
Yeah, yeah. Now, me as an American, you as a European, it's interesting for me to know a little bit about what someone like you might think about America. So I have a few short questions just to get your reaction, just to see these are some American issues, and I want to run by you. Make America great again. What do you think of that phrase?
I know Trump is the guy who is telling that, and actually I think he stole this phrase from Reagan, because Reagan was using it before him. Make America great again. I think America is great already. So why make it great again?
Green New Deal.
Green New Deal. Yeah, but not in a pace that people want to do it. Yes, I think we should take care much more of our planet Earth. From that point of view, I'm a pro Green Deal. But I also think that we have to see how we can achieve that in the best way. And I will give you an example. We have a very modern coal electricity plant in the Netherlands. Very modern, I think the most modern in the world. And it was closed because if we would open it, the Netherlands would not meet the CO2 requirements that were decided. Now, at the same in Europe, there are a lot of very old coal plants producing electricity, certainly in the Eastern Europe countries, and just continuing producing electricity with these old coal plants. Now, I think it's far better to close one of those and reopen the Dutch one, which is very modern, than instead of closing Dutch one and leave those open.
All right. So you have some of the same issues there as we have here, kind of wondering what to do about production of energy. We want to keep carbon levels low, but we want to keep standards of living high, right?
Yeah, but specific for America, I think at this moment you got a lot of, how do you call them? Biocentrals, which are burning trees to make clean energy. What is clean about burning trees? It's just that doesn't match my view of a new Green Deal. So yes, I think we should care more about Earth, but we should do it in at some points in complete other way as we do now.
All right. 2 more questions.
Yep.
Build a wall.
Yeah. I wonder if that will solve your problems, because hard to say, Peter, because I'm not exactly aware about the real issues that are there with the Mexicans coming into America, and I know Trump was pro building a wall. I think I know also a lot of people living in the area are also want that wall to be built. To me, with a European view, I know we had also a wall between Eastern and Western Germany, and it wasn't a success. So I wonder if when you continue building that wall, that it will be a success. I'm wondering.
Okay, yeah. Last question: the right to bear arms.
Yeah, that's something what is completely far away in the Netherlands and in a lot of European countries. It's quite common in America. I think that's one of the reasons that there are sometimes some terrible shootings in your country. That one of the reasons is that everybody can buy everything, and I'm not against. But I have the feeling that there must be some more strict laws in deciding which weapons can be sold to people.
Yes. Well, you were very diplomatic in your answers, but I think you gave us your opinion. And just to be honest, I think you and I would agree on a lot of these different issues that we just talked about right here. And I just want to say thank you so much for doing this recording with me. To anyone watching, please be sure to click the like button. And yeah, once again, Frithjof, thank you so much for helping me out with this and doing this video.
Peter, you're very welcome. And if there are any more issues you want to talk about, you can always ask me.
All right, thank you so much.